For thrower number 6, for her force throw, let's take a look. So as she starts her throw, her arm moves backwards before it moves forwards. So that indicates she does have some type of backswing. In our observational plan, we then say, does the hand drop below the waist? And we can clearly see in this video that is not the case. And then from there, we say, does the ball make a circular motion, or do we primarily have elbow and humeral flexion? Humeral flexion referring to shoulder flexion. So as we go from her backswing, not really a circular motion. It's mainly just bringing her arm up to shoulder flexion and then using her elbow flexion before she extends to release the ball. Okay, so that's how we get her at a level 2 for her backswing. For her foot action, we can see that she's taking a contralateral step. So again, level 3 or 4 would have been acceptable. For trunk action, at the furthest kind of like back part here, again, you look at the shoulder in relation to the pelvis, and then we see if they move at the same time, which they do. So that's how we get a blocked trunk rotation. For the humerus, I'll go back to the observational plan. I think it's good to review for these ones. Again, the first thing we're trying to see is, does the humerus form a right angle with the trunk? So I would argue for her, yes, right? Because she does get it above, okay? So then it's determining from the front-facing position, is her elbow in front of her body or pointing at the camera? So I would say that's her front-facing position, where her shoulders are square to her front, and we can see her humerus is definitely outside of the outline of her trunk. So that's how we would get a level 2 for her humerus action. Then we can look at her forearm lag. So again, looking at where we see the deepest point of her forearm, which I would argue is probably right about there. And that is definitely occurring before she reaches forward facing. So that's also how we get a level 2 for forearm. We then can look at her accuracy throw. Okay, so taking note of her backswing action, there's not really a backswing, right? Her arm doesn't go backwards before it goes forward. It kind of just pushes outwards. We do see that she's taken a contralateral step, so that would be a level 3 or 4, but either one of those would be acceptable. If we look at her trunk, there's not really a whole lot of motion going on. The only thing that we notice is that she's got a slight bit of leftward rotation when she releases the ball. And I'd like to bring your guys' attention back to the table. So for step 1, there is kind of a little section towards the end where it says if trunk action does occur, it's usually accompanied by a forward thrust of the arm. So that's what this would exemplify. Okay. Then we can look at her humerus and her forearm action. So again, does the humerus make a right angle with the trunk? I would say it never really makes it to a right angle, at least before like the ball release is initiated. It's close, but her humerus still has like a downward slope. So if she hasn't made it to a right angle, then she's in step 1 where we say the humerus is oblique. For the forearm, she was also a level 1, and if we look at the motion, her forearm is kind of in a constant state of motion. Okay, so it doesn't really have a part where it's lagging or staying behind her body at all. And if that's the case, she's in step 1, no forearm lag. Okay, so that's how we get these ratings for subject 6.